Okay, so my mechanic just texted me the invoice, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous. The total of this year's annual was Okay, so it is Tuesday. I'm headed over to Van Nuys Airport to go check up on Dell in her annual. We've had a few developments. Firstly, we had to overhaul the gear motor because it was having some trouble coming up and down, and it turns out that the actuator was too far gone, so they had to overhaul it. If all goes well, the gear motor should be back in today, and I believe Tim's buttoning it up, and I should be able to pick it up tomorrow. I'm curious to see what my total is coming out to be. I'm hoping it doesn't break the bank too much, but I didn't expect it to be the cheapest of annuals because I had some squawks myself. I think it's the wrong mindset to go into an annual trying to be coy about any squawks you may have, hoping that your mechanic might not catch them because they might not be a huge airworthiness issue. I personally would like my plane to be in the best shape possible, regardless of the expense. I understand that it's definitely a financial privilege to be able to approach an annual like that. And the way Tim and I operate as well is that while he's doing the annual, if there's anything small, I just tell him to go ahead and do everything, because I would love my plane to be in tip-top shape, and it keeps the cost of future annuals down because problems don't compound on themselves. That's just my take on an annual. I'm curious if you guys have a similar approach. Alright, let's go. Let's see what's up. I'm sure I'm gonna get jumped on by Mooch and Cleo. Oh, I hear them. There's Cleo, there's Mooch. Oh yeah, big boy.
Quite the greeting.
I know. Alright, so I'm here with Tim. Just got a few questions for you. What's the hardest part about working on such an old Bonanza?
Dealing with the owner.
Thanks, but actually.
Probably unearthing all of the crazy stuff that people have done for the last 60 years.
What's the weirdest thing you found at this annual?
All kinds of things. Well, for one, the wiring's interesting. We've already known that though, but I just uncovered a whole bunch of more weird wiring that I've been repairing. Somebody put power packs for strobes in the wheel wells, and it looked like they routed spaghetti into the cockpit. It went everywhere, so we were cleaning that up. I don't know, you saw that fuel selector cover that they put carpet over.
Oh, it was
that
terrible.
was insane. You have really nice wiring going to the rear intercom headset jacks that just gets coiled up into a coil and it's stuffed behind the panel.
What were your thoughts on the compression for the engine, for how old it is and all that stuff?
I think that's probably a relatively low-time engine though. It had decent compression.
Yeah, it's all mid-70s.
I'm surprised how fast it is.
Yeah.
Right,
You want to give that little story to the camera?
No.
No, you don't want to admit that I was outpacing a IO 470? But granted,
It was almost 1,000 pounds heavier than you, 1,000 feet lower,
yeah, we don't
with
have to
tip
get,
tanks and BGs.
we don't have to get into details, okay?
No.
Like, it's fine.
We have ways of slowing it down while it's in here.
Oh no. After working on it, would you get in it?
No.
Why not?
Because the front seats are absolutely non-adjustable, and I'm 6'1".
I guess one more question. When do you think it'll be done?
It depends what happens when I put fuel in the tip tanks. If it goes out all over the floor like it did before, leaks. That's why the valves are getting overhauled. I had to replace the O-rings. I'm shooting for Wednesday, hopefully tomorrow. I'm gonna go pick up the motor today, finish the gear swing and the gear rig, and then see how far I get with the seat belts.
We were just talking about the fact that some annuals run, $20,000, $30,000.
It's interesting you say that. I was just sitting in a seminar with an FAA inspector, and that was the first subject that came up was pencil whipping annuals and maintenance. Apparently it happens frequently.
I know, and it's I'm blessed to have found somebody that actually, respects their clients and wants repeat business. I think there's a lot of the bigger shops that it's all about the dollar, and so like you were saying, if there's one gear strut that's wrong, they'll overhaul all three of them. And when there's not really a need to do stuff like that. So we appreciate honest mechanics like you. I can say that for all 5 of you that are watching. We all agree.
You know, I think the dog has more followers than you do.
That hurts. I'm heading over to Aero Accessories in Van Nuys to go pick up the gear motor. I'm curious to see what the final damage is on that overhaul, but it had to be done. Can't have a gear that doesn't want to go up or come down, so we're getting it done. Aero Accessories did a great job. Crazy to think this little tiny gear. I mean, it's gear ratios, right? It spins at like 7,500 RPM, and this little guy will get my my gear up. It's pretty crazy to think. I've come bearing gifts, Tim.
I thought you were gonna bring breakfast or something.
Alright, if all goes well, I should be able to get my plane tomorrow. It'll definitely be more towards the evening, which is not ideal after maintenance, because you definitely want to be able to kind of have a lot of outs in case something happens. But I'll definitely do a thorough pre-flight, a long ground run up, and I'll probably orbit over Van Nuys for a good 30 minutes in an overhead pattern just to make sure everything's looking and sounding good. And I'm not going to use the tip tanks yet until daylight, just to make sure that you know, there's no issues there. Better to err on the side of safety. So I'm heading out of Van Nuys Airport, gonna go get some work done, and hopefully I'll be back here tomorrow to pick up the plane. Alright, so we're at the plane. Gonna do a complete detailed walk around, pre-flight, and then we will go ahead from there, fuel her up, and get back to Whiteman. I just got back to Whiteman Airport. Plane flew unbelievably well. It was definitely interesting. Flies a little different with the tip tanks, but not too different. It's actually a little smoother, and the gear just flies up with that new motor. It's amazing, considering it used to take 10 seconds. I think it maybe took 3, 4 at most. The weather's super crappy today in LA, so I was gonna do this at the hangar, but instead I decided to do it at my office, aka the studio. This is where I make music. Okay, so my mechanic just texted me the invoice, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous. Let's go through it, and I'll do my best to break it all down. This one was a bit steeper than I was hoping for, but I did do a lot to the aircraft in terms of upgrades. The base price of the annual inspection was $1,500. Not bad for a retract airplane in LA County. Really can't ask for much better than that. We did have a few squawks that came up this year at annual, so I wasn't expecting a full overhaul of the gear motor, and it had to be done. So that was $1,000. New shoulder harnesses. That install came out to about $900. Servicing the landing gear and removing and replacing the gear motor, that was $250. The floorboards were cracked, so that had to be replaced. And the fuel selector panel and front spark covers had to be repaired subsequently. That ran me $425. I also had him remove my attitude indicator and make it adjustable because it was a few degrees off, and that's not good for IFR. And then he also replaced my vertical speed indicator. That was $350. I had him install a push-to-talk on the co-pilot side. That was $100. And then we get to the big item, the tip tanks. Let's see, this says,
clean tip tanks, locate leaks, repair and replace sump drain seals, sender probe seals, seal tanks, repair wire harness for nav lights, replace flexible lines, flush the system, remove selector valve assembly, clean, lubricate, and replace seals, reinstall and label.
I also know he overhauled the fuel selectors for the tip tanks, so I'm sure that added a bit. And that was a whopping $1,800.
That's gotta hurt! It's gotta hurt!
Parts cost came out to approximately $280. The total of this year's annual was $5,612.10. It was definitely a bit more than I expected. Also, you got to add on the $1,000 overhaul of the gear motor, so the real total was $6,612.10. That one stings a little bit, but those upgrades are so necessary and make the plane so much more capable. Thanks so much for watching. I'd really appreciate if you guys smash that like button and subscribe. I got a ton more content coming out soon. Catch y'all in the skies. Is my plane the most pain in the ass plane you work on?
It's the oldest, that's for sure.
The oldest, but not the worst. We'll take it.